know the community. See, y'all got it. Click got it. Great. So welcome to our first quarterly meeting for the Colorado Composting Council. Very exciting to have this group of folks. My name is Monique DeGiorgio. I'm the co-chair along with Dan Meach from EcoCycle. He is on his way, but I believe he's driving and will be here soon. So I'll probably kick it over to him to moderate when he gets here. I'm also on the board of Recycle Colorado, and yeah, happy to have everybody here today. So I think I'm going to do that thing where I pick someone and then your job is to pick somebody else that hasn't spoken yet. So let's do that. I see Erica. Erica, you go first.
Hi, I'm Erica Sparhawk, and I'm the CEO of CHT Resources. We have a compost facility in Delta, Colorado.
And then pick someone.
I will pick Megan.
Awesome. My name is Megan Eibach, and I am a product and zero waste specialist with Eco Products based in Golden, Colorado. And I will pick Carolyn.
Okay, I am Carolyn LaValle. I'm with the Recycle Committee in Estes Park, and composting is one of our long-term goals. Bears make it a little more difficult up here. So I'm mostly here to figure out if there's any kind of fit and whether I should keep track of you all on a quarterly basis.
It's a good question. We'll want to know what you think after hearing from us for 2 hours. Go ahead and pick someone, Carolyn.
Oh man, I don't know any who's.
Oh, that's okay. It can be
Jasmine?
someone you don't know. Yeah, Jasmine. There you go.
Jasmine hasn't yet, right?
Yes.
Jasmine, right? Or okay. Hi everyone, I'm Jasmine Barco. I'm with CU Boulder. I'm happy to be in this space. We just got a partnership for community partner, or was it not partnership, a subscription for a community partner here with Recycle Colorado. I will hand it over to Angie.
I knew it. Hi, I'm Angie. I'm with you as well. I work in the Zero Waste program with the university at the Environmental Center. So we are happy to be here. I'm going to send it over to Robin.
Hi, I'm Robin. I'm also at the CU Environmental Center, and I'll just send it to Dave so we can get the 4 of us out of the way.
Ah.
Hi, I'm Dave. I'm the director of the CU Environmental Center and a longtime friend of Jack DeBell. So that's my legacy in this business.
Please pick someone, Dave.
Oh yeah, that. How about Alex?
Hey everybody, Alex Trulove, Legislation Advocacy Director for BPI. I'll pass it to Clinton.
Hey everybody, Clinton Sander, Marketing Manager for A1 Organics. And I will pass it to Liz. Did you go, Liz? Not Liz Chapman, but Liz Maruel. I can't say that last name, I'm sorry.
Thanks, Clint. Thanks, Clinton. Liz Morrow. I work for City of Glenwood Springs. I manage the South Canyon landfill, which also is a Class 3 composting site. Don't usually get to attend these meetings, but today I can. So I am excited, and I will pass it to Liz Chapman.
Thank you, Liz. I'm Liz Chapman. I'm the Executive Director of Recycle Colorado, and I'm super excited about all the work being done by this great group. A little heads up, I've had a conflict in meetings, so I will have to bail before the meeting is over, and I apologize in advance.
Go ahead and pick someone.
And I failed. I am picking Rutger.
Hi, I'm Rutger Myers. I'm with Denver Botanic Gardens. So hoping to attend all the meetings this year. And excited to, talk bigger picture compost. Someone who hasn't gone, could they raise their hand? I was Randy.
Great, thanks, Rutger. Randy Mormon, I'm with EcoCycle. I'm the Director of Policy and Community Campaigns at EcoCycle. And I'm also Policy Chair for Recycle Colorado. So I'll be wearing 2 hats today because I'll be presenting about the forward task that I'll explain a little more about what that is, but that'll be with my EcoCycle hat on. And then I'll also try to be on for the conversation I think Dan will be leading around our organics bill. So that'll be my policy hat. And I will pick Chris Holstrom.
Great, thanks, Randy. Chris Holstrom, San Miguel County Commissioner, longtime organic farmer. And we just got a grant to look at composting on the western slope and kind of pull some things together. Have a high altitude organic farm at 9,000 feet, which I'm not at right now because it's very snowy. And I will go to Alex from BPI.
I think Alex went, so how about Van?
Howdy folks, Van here with Compost Colorado. We provide compost collection services and some processing services soon in the metro area. I will call on Andy. Have you gone?
Haven't. Yeah, hi, I'm with SCS Engineers. I've helped permit and design some compost pads at Scrap and Vale Honey Wagon. Just see what was going on in the state.
Awesome. I'm going to keep it moving here. Lauren.
Hi everyone, I'm Lauren with the town of Mountain Village, and we are a Colorado Compost member, and super excited to be here and just interested in going through the agenda and learning more.
See Jamie, the compost queen.
Hi, I'm Jamie Blanchard Poling. I own and operate Compost Queen out of Fort Collins. I will pick Sean.
Hi, I'm Sean Brookman in Eagle, Colorado, in the Vale area. And I teach compost classes and I'm working on getting my microscopy certification.
Nice, good pronunciation. It's always a tongue twister. You're the new Carry Oceans, Sean, which is big boots. That's awesome.
Big boots.
You're gonna do great. We're so proud to have you in that role. It's awesome.
Yeah. And I'm sorry I jumped in a little late, so I don't know who hasn't gone yet. Can you pick for me?
Yes, I can help. I feel like Darla from CDPHE has not gone.
Hi, good afternoon. Darla Ahrens. I'm the producer responsibility lead for the state of Colorado. And my camera just loves to not work when I switch over to Zoom from Google Meet. So I apologize for that. I'm here just to kind of keep a pulse and stay up to date on all things related to composting. Our producer responsibility program does include compostable products as a covered material. So I'm also want to make myself available as a resource to anyone who wants to talk about producer responsibility. And is there anyone else who hasn't gone?
Becca.
All right, Becca.
Hey, sorry, I'm just hopping on right now. I'm Becca with Republic Services. And is there anything else we're supposed to say in the introduction?
Oh, that's fine. You can kick it. I think Naomi hasn't gone. Kick it to Naomi, maybe.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Naomi Kurland. I'm with Sustainable Resilient Longmont in Longmont, Colorado.
Awesome. There's a Kathy H. Did Kathy go?
I haven't. Sorry, Kathy Hoskins have a bad cold, so glad to be here.
I think we got everyone, and then Dan just hopped on. Dan, we have quite the. We're just doing introductions. It's all in the notes. Look, but you.
Bob Yo, so they want to get. I'm the old comp. Thank you. I'm retired.
He's retired. Look how relaxed you are. Why are you in something that looks like an office, though? That's not right.
I didn't go, Monique.
Jessica, go ahead.
Hey guys, Jessica Lally here with City and County of Denver, Department of Transportation and Infrastructure. I'm also a board member and the liaison from the board to the Compost Council. And maybe that's everyone. I don't know.
Dan, sorry, you didn't, I think Bob was talking as well. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Dan Mainch, I'm the director of the compost department at EcoCycle and Monique's co-chair of this council. Welcome everybody, and thank you, Monique, for getting us kicked off.
Yeah, it's an exciting show for the first quarterly meeting. And I did notice, Dan, that Julie is not here. I just texted her. She in theory would be giving the financial update. She's gonna hop on in 10. So we'll kick the financial update till she's on, Dan.
Okay.
And then what's not on the agenda was a plug for membership. And I'm just, if it's okay, I'm just gonna do that real quick because we have such a great group of people. There are a lot of organizations that make our compost world go around. And speaking as somebody who owns a compost business down here in Durango, class 3 facility, but also I've worked in the nonprofit world my whole life. I can't overemphasize the importance of the role that Recycle Colorado, Colorado Composting Council, and the U.S. Composting Council play. I know that sounds like a lot, right? There's 3 different groups, but we each have a really important role. Recycle Colorado is really the nonprofit that's representing us as Colorado Composting Council. So all of our financials go through them. We're so lucky to have Liz and Allie in terms of staffing. I mean, they do all of this amazing work for us. And then the U.S. Compost Council, of course, is our national affiliate. We do ask that if it's in your ability to do so, and as a small composter, I know that sometimes it's not, but we have very, very kind of minimal entry fees, right? Especially for Colorado Composting Council. We do ask that you consider being members of all 3. The Colorado Composting Council, we have our own budget and a work plan that's associated with that. We're trying to be more active in that space. So your membership with us is critical. Recycle Colorado, of course, in terms of membership, is really the voice of the whole community. And at the national level, the U.S. Compost Council does so much for us. So if you have any questions about that, let us know. I think Allie's been sending out kind of membership invoices for the Colorado Composting Council. So if you've gotten that and you haven't, contributed yet, we'd love it. If you're new here, you might reach out to me, Dan, or Allie, and just learn more about what comes along with membership. I will say this year, which is new, I think it's a big deal because I'm a compost producer, but we have a special discount on basically like the major handbook that the U.S. Compost Council puts together, which is the Composting Bible and the Composting Handbook. I'm sure Sean could tell you, oh yes, that one. But okay, turn it around because look how thick it is. Yeah, it's amazing. So my operations manager got one and I haven't seen it. So you know what? I'm going to get a second one because I just need this thing like always in my office. So you get a special discount. Oh, nice. Okay, showing it off, Liz. I like it. You get I don't know, it's like a 10% discount or something if you become a Colorado Composting Council member. It's just a little perk. I'll stop there. If people have questions about the membership or why there's 3, let us know. But otherwise, I'm going to kick it to Dan. Put you on the spot, Dan.
I assume all this info is on the website for where to sign up and stuff.
It is. You know what? While Dan is kind of taking the reins, I am going to find that page because what we did is a lot of work to put like a sheet together that explains it all. And actually Allie put all of this back end stuff on the Recycle Colorado website. So I'll dig up that and put it in the chat.
I did put in the chat. I said join it and it should be in there.
On it. Thank you. Perfect.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the Recycle Colorado Summit and Symposium. The summit is set for May 21 through 23rd in Steamboat Springs. It's going to be awesome. As I think this is a big group. As most of you know, last year we had a separate not separate. We within the RC Summit, we had a compost symposium. So we had a dedicated track that we planned ourselves. We COCC planned ourselves we worked together with the summit planning committee, but we were somewhat responsible for our own content, at least. And so so there's already planning meetings in place or going on, I think weekly. Liz, I might ask you to update us where we are right now, because I've been going to but what I want to say is, I think the question at hand is, do we want to again take responsibility for developing a track? There will be an organics track, and I'm guessing that there's already been maybe some preliminary work done on planning that organics track. I don't know. We'll have to ask Liz, but I think that's the question. Is certainly we want to participate in the organics track. Obviously, what's our level of participation? And I think it comes down to how many people are interested in working on this planning. I think we're at this point asking that we work within the planning committee rather than separately. You know, maybe we want to have separate subcommittee meetings, but I think at this point, you know, May is going to come up very quickly. We don't have time to. We need to work within the framework that Liz has already put into place. Liz, can you give us a little update on where we are?
Absolutely. Thanks, Dan. So there is a set of meeting rooms that are committed at this moment to be all organic. So what that looks like is on Monday and Tuesday, there's a 90-minute session in the morning and a 90-minute session in the afternoon on both days. So there's either 4 90-minute sessions or 8 45-minute sessions, or a mix of the two, if that makes sense. So we've got a room set aside for organics, compost recycling, set aside. And at the moment, I'm hoping to fill that with that topic. And so to repeat what Dan is saying, my question to this group is, do you want to call that a symposium and take ownership of filling those slots? Or do you want it to be a compost track within, and not necessarily call it the symposium? And there may be a period of time that it's a different topic, because we're getting a lot of interest in traditional materials recycling. We're getting some interest in producer responsibility. And because we've set aside those tracks, equal time to traditional materials recycling, compost, organics recycling, and construction and demolition. The C&D Council has said that they think they can fill all of their spots. They can fill all 4 90-minute sessions with speakers or panels that are going to talk about construction and deconstruction and demolition. So my question to this group is, do you guys want to take ownership of that and create your own committee that would work with us? Or do you want to be folded in and see if you can fill up that track? And if you can't fill up that track, then we will fill it with the other speakers that have expressed interest. And if I am not clear, that would make sense. And I apologize, and ask me a question.
Totally clear. I just have a couple questions. I would think, yes, we want to fill all the tracks. If we do the kind of folded version, which is being kind of called somewhat distinct than a symposium, which is what we called it last year, do we still have the opportunity to market that compost track in a similar way with Recycle Colorado, right? And look at sponsorships and that kind of thing? Or would that be too much like our own separate event? Like, I think there's some things that we did last year that were helpful for the Colorado Composting Council, but calling it a symposium versus a track, I'm not too hung up on that, right?
So what we found last year is it was really onerous to market one event as two different things. It was confusing. It made our messaging not tight, and it made it very wordy and text heavy. People were confused. People conflated the two. So if you want to market that isolated, I say isolated, that track within the conference as the symposium, I'm all for that and we'll support that, but that is something this group would have to take on. And if the Compost Council is like, that's just too big a lift, we can't do that. We're interested in soliciting speakers, but we don't want to manage the social media posts and coming up with a whole marketing campaign and that sort of thing. Totally get that.
Yeah.
You're welcome to do that. And we'll still hold that space to be organics only. We would just fold it into the overall marketing umbrella of the Summit for Recycling. And then we would feature the speakers the way we did last year. We've got organic speakers, and then we've got C&D speakers, and we've got some ideas for marketing that way. But if you want, I wanted to be sure to honor what happened last year in that this group did so much work to create an event within an event, that if you wanted to do that again, I certainly want to give you that opportunity. But I also understand it's a lot of work. Everybody's got a full-time job, and maybe that isn't what you want to do. And if that is also okay.
Yeah. Well, and there could be kind of this happy medium where there's still this track that the Colorado Composting Council is helping to organize within the Recycle Colorado Summit, where the Colorado Composting Council, in addition to the marketing that you guys are doing for the whole event, can plug, right? Like there's kind of this gray area, right? Where we could plug, hey, there's this really robust organics piece, right? That we're spearheading. And there's a really important discussion to be had, and Colorado Composting Council is helping to put that together. If a sponsorship came in to help support that one track or something, seems like we could do that, additive. We're like adding like a plug and a push for you. Does that, because that's like, it's kind of like what you're proposing, but with like a little tweak. Is that something like that possible?
Yeah. And if you want to do it that way, what I would ask is that at least one, if not two, people representing the Compost Council would participate in the weekly summit planning meetings. And then you could have a separate, more in-depth compost only meeting that may or may not need to include me or Allie. Certainly could, but doesn't have to. So far, we've only had two people express interest in two people suggest ideas for the organics recycling track. And we've had about 8 for the traditional materials track. And 1 for construction and demolition. But the construction and demolition folks, I just talked to them about this. So I think Thursday, Allie, is that right, when we had our meeting? So that they haven't had a lot of time to process this. So that gives you a based on our call for speakers that we've put out, and we're going to continue to push, and it's open until for another week. We've so far, with that blanket call, we've only gotten 2 people express interest in the organics track. But you guys know people that you might reach out to specifically that maybe aren't tapped into our social media, or they're not on our mailing list, and so they haven't seen the call to speakers. And I see Clinton's got his hand up.
Thanks, Liz. Yeah, what was just to remind everybody on the call, the deadline for those call for speakers?
The call for speakers will close on March 1st, which is next Wednesday, week from tomorrow. However, that doesn't mean that we will not consider any other speakers. We just had to put some sort of deadline to encourage people to get that information to us. So if you've got an idea and it's going to take you till March 3rd or March 7th to nail that down, the best thing to do would be enter that information into the form that says, oh, I've got this great speaker, but I don't know that we can nail them down by March 1st. And at least we know that there's somebody that's interested.
Well, as you probably would assume, I definitely would like to get a contamination conversation going at that summit. So I will be submitting something for that.
I figured I was kind of counting on that one.
Yes, but I just haven't put anything in just yet. Just to let you know that that is on the top of my mind.
And who from the Colorado Composting Council at this point is going to those weekly meetings? And then I swear that is my last question. Dan? Okay. Oh, great. Sean, Dan, no, not Dan. Sean, Clinton. Okay. What do people think? Megan.
Hey, I was just going to say, I think in terms of the symposium inside the greater event, I think I agree what I think y'all are saying, that maybe just having the organics track that goes alongside the traditional recycling and C&D, because most people, like 95% of people, are going to be interested in one of those tracks, most likely not like all of them or two of them. And so I feel like last year we kind of lost some audience on that day that it was the organics track, like symposium. Like a lot of the MRF, like plastics recycling people, didn't show up that day because there wasn't really content for them. So I think in my opinion, it would be kind of better to just do like 3 tracks when there are breakout sessions, and then we might get a lot more attention, especially because, you know, Steamboat Springs is not where most people live. So if they're going to travel, it'd probably be good for them to have content each day that's related to their business.
Mm-hmm. And that, I mean, is that correct? That's how you're proposing it, Liz, right?
Yes.
Tracks, right? Okay.
Yeah. And in the middle of the day, we're going to have a field trip option. We're going to split the middle of the day to be either you can do a field trip, which we're hopefully that's going to include a tour of the local compost facility, as it'll be like a mixed, it'll have a traditional materials component and an organics component, the field trip, or a workshop. And we're still working on what kind of workshops people would be inclined to. I saw Sean first and then Jamie.
Yeah, I agree. I think having just an organics track sounds good. So I'm on that boat. And I also was wondering if we could kind of, to go with the idea of like merging, could we still have that big banner like last year, the Compost Council banner? I really liked that. I thought that was really nice for pictures and to have behind our presenters. So I would love to have that in our room if everybody thinks that that's worth the cost of having that big banner thing as well. So, and I will, last thing, I will continue to go on those Wednesday meetings for us so that we have 2 representatives as well to continue this. Okay, go ahead.
Just to be for some clarity, and certainly details like signage and banners and stuff that we don't have to make all those decisions right now. That's something that can be worked out as we get closer. But all of the material that we developed last year, we have and we'll use again. But I think, Sean, what you're referencing is on the main stage, we had what they call a repeater banner, where you have a big, it's taller than me, it takes up the whole stage, and it said Recycle Colorado, right? To have something like that for the organics room, we can absolutely do that, but that's something that would have to come out of the Compost Council budget. But that is an option. And Jamie.
Oh, wait, can I just ask on that?
Oh, yeah.
Next thing. So, but we didn't throw that banner away. Oh, no. Can we use that in our room though? Can we reuse it?
Yes, but the banner that we purchased is not one of those great big ones like we had on the stage that says Compost Council. The stuff that's big that goes on the stage says Recycle Colorado.
Yes.
Okay. We have a smaller banner that we still have and that we'll absolutely use that says Recycle Colorado and Colorado Compost Council. If you wanted a bigger version of that for the speakers to have a backdrop and pictures and stuff, that would be an additional expense. That is something we don't currently own. We're happy to facilitate getting one. And those cost Ally will help me remember, but I believe in the neighborhood of $600.
Okay, thanks.
But the stuff we already have, we've got it, we'll use it. No need to buy it again. Jane.
I just wanted to clarify, this says it's going to be on the 21st, May 21st through 23rd. That's a Sunday through a Tuesday. Is that correct?
That is correct. Because we are having it in Steamboat Springs, which is a resort community, we had some tension between what was more important, a convenient time of year or a lower price. We chose the lower price, which means it's a little bit less convenient. So Sunday afternoon will be the policy retreat. There will be a welcome reception that evening. And then the conference itself will be all day Monday, all day Tuesday.
Okay, thank you.
Monique, have I left anything out?
No, it's really helpful. I appreciate all the thought that you put into making sure we're aware of our choices and that the group feels comfortable. Van, thoughts?
Just an aside about lodging in Steamboat. Liz, do you have any recommendations on like cheap or affordable lodging or camping in around town?
So at the moment, what I know is we have secured rooms at $115 a night, which is a very competitive rate anywhere in Colorado, $115 a night. So that's what I know with absolute certainty. We are still working on what the alternative lodging is going to be. I don't know which campgrounds will be open. It will depend on the snow melt in late May. And Sarah Jones and Alicia, our board members that work and live in Steamboat, are working on that. So we are hopeful that as we get closer, we will have some alternative lodging scenarios that you can take advantage of. And if it's something that you wanted to look into on your own, like perhaps you're going to get a house and split it with 6 people, there's free public transit from downtown Steamboat out to the Grand. And it apparently takes about 10 or 15 minutes.
Thank you.
I guess I put a plug in and then I kick it back to Dan and open for other comments too, but probably it's great. Sean and Clinton are holding up Colorado Composting Council on the weekly calls. I'll try to join those too. It'd be great to have more of us there. And I know we're all busy, myself included. This is really important. So to try to support Sean and Clinton, I guess I just throw out there, if anybody's interested in doing those weekly meetings, I think we could use more representation. I will consider it. I got to be careful what I add onto my calendar, but I think this is really important. So if anybody wants to stand up right now and join those two in representing Colorado Composting Council, that would be great. And I may send an email later today that I'll join those.
And the other half of that is, I have to admit, it's not entered my mind until just now that the call for speakers is open for only another week. So, we need folks on the committee, but we also need to create a track. So keep that in mind. Okay, let's see. Are we anything else on the summit? There's a lot of, so Van sent me a bunch of topic ideas that are in the agenda minutes document. So I don't know if I don't think we want to talk about any specific topics, but I will say, contamination is obviously a big deal here on the Front Range right now. So, I would hope that would be a topic that we cover in some respect. So I guess I'll just leave it there. Is there anything else we want to talk about at the summit at this point?
No, I may do, Dan, I'll probably do a follow-up with Sean and Clinton since they've been engaging, and Liz, to see if we can't pull, and maybe Sean and Clinton are already doing this, but pull together more of a team that can support Sean and Clinton, right? And getting speakers out there and whatever it is that they need. Maybe Clinton just put his hand up in response to that. I don't know. I see a
Did
hand.
I put my hand up? Sorry, I had to switch to my phone. I had to
Oh
start
no,
moving.
somebody else from A1. Is it
Bob?
Bob, yeah.
Maybe he, I think maybe he didn't mean to either. No, he did.
I meant to.
Okay.
You contact me after the meeting, Monique or Dan or something. I'll give you a list of things I think should be.
Oh, great.
If you're interested in my opinion.
Perfect. Yes. Okay, great.
And I'll give you the speakers that could handle them if you'd like.
Yes, perfect.
There's under the summit heading here, there's also a note here on the plant-based products council. I don't know, that might be misplaced in the agenda, but is that something you wanted to talk about, Megan? And the farm bill?
Yeah, it was a quick thing that Megan wanted to mention if she still wants to. If not, we can come back to it. Oh, there she is.
Sorry, I keep having coworkers call me and I'm like, I'm busy. Can't you see?
Busy.
So we work with the Plant-Based Products Council, and they're based in DC. They're a lobbying group that represents plant-based products and the use of plant-based renewable materials in products. And this is not me, it's not something I personally am part of, but it's definitely something Eco Products is part of. And they are interested in focusing on composting this year and how they can better support composters in making sure that plant-based materials are successful in compost piles and are not viewed or treated or become contamination. And so I just kind of wondered so basically they want to hear from composters to set up priorities for upcoming legislation. So right now they're working on the Farm Bill, which obviously is huge and a lot of different people are working in the Farm Bill, but then they're also looking at future legislation. So really wanting to get the composter feedback on like your needs, how can they use your needs to drive funding, grant programs or legislation, and then, you know, in the view of expanding infrastructure. So there's actually a compost working group that's part of the Plant-Based Product Council. And so I'm putting this out there to this group. If anybody's interested in connecting with them, I don't know necessarily what that looks like. Like, is it a one-time conversation where they just ask you some questions? Is it a questionnaire? Is it something that they might ask you for more feedback down the road? I don't know. So I'm going to go ahead and put my email in the chat. And if you are interested in me connecting you to them, please, by all means, or if you want to, if you know someone else who might be interested, I think it's honestly a win just to get more opinions and, you know, for people who are actually doing the work to someone and entities in Washington that are making lots of legislations and have money and or can potentially have more funding to go towards the people on the ground doing the work. So yeah, if anyone has any questions now, let me know. Otherwise, just email me, let me know you'd like to be connected and I'll forward your email.
That's awesome, Megan. Thank you.
The Farm Bill is like a piece of legislation. Is it every 5 years? I think it is chock full of a million different bits of laws and legislation that affect anything from like school nutrition to organic practices. I'm sure Alex or, you know, somebody could share a lot more about what the Farm Bill does, but I think the goal is to get more attention on compost and composting infrastructure in the Farm Bill, either this cycle or in the, in the future.
It is so important. So important. Yeah. Alex, were you gonna mention something about that?
Yeah, I'm just gonna add to what Megan already said. So just a couple of weeks ago, Congress reintroduced the Compost Act, which was introduced first in 2021, which is for the most part an infrastructure funding bill. So it'd be a federal grant program that would be available to anybody in the United States. I think it's $200 million a year, which to be honest is a much smaller number than we would like to see, but it's a good start. And as of a couple of years ago, when it was introduced, they were trying to figure out what larger piece of legislation could they squeeze it into. There were Inflation Reduction Act, some of these big congressional spending bills didn't work out. New Congress, and the plan, according to the lead sponsors, which is Cory Booker in New Jersey on the Senate side and Julia Brownlee, who's a California representative on the House side, is to get it into the Farm Bill. That's what they're hoping to do. That's basically from the get-go. They are trying to get congressional support, especially members of important ag committees and that kind of stuff, in order to lubricate the process to getting this as part of the Farm Bill. And like Megan said, the Farm Bill is enormous. I think it's probably the largest piece of single legislation in Congress. So, while this would be a big deal to us, it's be a relatively small part of the overall program. And so I think, making sure that something like compost infrastructure funding rises to the priority is, a great thing that we can all work on for the next few weeks. And I'll certainly do my part to provide updates where I can. I know one thing that would be helpful is if anyone, and maybe this is better, like more of a state of Colorado CDPHE thing, if we have estimates for how much infrastructure would cost moving forward, like big numbers, big statewide numbers, how much money do we need to build infrastructure in Colorado, facilities, that whole thing. That really helps make the argument, and congressional staffers have already been asking for those figures to help justify, putting the Compost Act in the Farm Bill. So just wanted to add to what Megan already said.
Super helpful. Thank you.
And I think hopefully the bill that Recycle Colorado is putting forth will have will be helpful in putting a number to that infrastructure, or putting a number to your question about infrastructure. I don't know if that works out timing wise, but with federal legislation, probably just fine. And also I'll mention that the U.S. Composting Council is planning to do some kind of lobbying for the Compost Act through the state chapters, as we did, when was that, 2 years ago? I'm not exactly sure how you lobby to get something in the Farm Bill. I'm sure that makes sense, but I'm not, we're just putting a note out there. We'll be hearing from USCC most likely in the future, maybe likely the near future, asking us to do some lobbying. And I know Jonah Goose was all in on the Compost Act, so I think should be pretty easy with our contingent. Okay, moving on then. Randy Moorman says that he has to leave at 3, and he wants to talk about a new program that's available for municipalities. Kick it over to Randy.
Hey, thank you, Dan. I'm going to share my screen. Give me a second to find what I need. There it is. Right, so this is a really short presentation. Really excited to talk to you about our new program that we are launching with the state, the Technical Assistance Service Provider, or TASP. And I need to apologize to some of you who were part of the Northern Compost Council last week, because this is the same presentation I gave. So you can take a break and go do something else during this. And also I know many of you are not in the Front Range. So this is specific to the Front Range because it is funded through the Front Range Waste Diversion Enterprise Fund. TASP stands for Technical Assistance Service Provider, and it's a program, as I said, of the Front Range Waste Diversion Enterprise Grant Program, which is administered by TDPHE and the Forward Board of Directors. And it provides progressing tiers of direct technical consulting support for Front Range communities at no cost. Examples of this type of consulting may include zero waste planning, local and regional feasibility analyses, engagement and outreach design and support, local ordinances, stakeholder engagement, program planning, and many others that you may think of. So again, the eligibility is very specific to the Front Range, so you can see all the counties that this includes in the map. It can be counties, towns, cities, unincorporated areas of counties, and communities may apply on their own for the technical assistance, or multiple towns, cities, and counties can work together in a joint project. We also are including public K-12 school districts being eligible. However, universities, nonprofits, and for-profits are not eligible for TASP, but of course are eligible for forward grant funding. So I want to make that clarification. So how can TASP help? Well, it directly assists local governments across the Front Range with increasing diversion and reducing waste by implementing sustainable long-term solutions that meet those unique needs of each community. So we can help by planning, initiating, optimizing, or locally appropriate program, policy, or project. We can get accelerated access to forward funding for these projects that we are working with communities on, and we can facilitate some peer community learning opportunities. And we're really breaking this down into 3 different tiers. So with tier 1, TASP, with TASP for tier 1, any eligible community can quickly and easily access what we consider like light touch consulting. And that would include through our workshops, office hours, and access to our online resource library. For tier 2, communities that want more in-depth support for specific projects are encouraged to apply, and again, receive no cost technical consulting for short-term projects. We're looking at things that can be completed within 6 months. And we may even, like I said, consider grouping some communities working together on similar initiatives and helping leverage that peer learning experience. And then for tier 3, these are really complex, large-scale technical support projects requiring between 6 and 18 months of technical support. And applications are significantly easier for this than they would be for a grant, for example, whether it's forward or REO. And again, those tier 3 applications are going to require something like a project summary from the applicant, but no project budget. And just to be clear, the Technical Assistance Service Provider Program of Forward will not provide any capital funding. So if you need capital funding or capital investment, you need to go through the regular grant process for Forward or REO. So what are some of the kind of potential projects that we might work with communities on through TASP? You can see this whole list here of some examples. And you know, TASP staff, that is EcoCycle and RRS. We are jointly providing these services through the program and are on contract to do so. We're available to help communities develop projects like these, guide communities through the application process, and also try to assist if they're thinking about other grant opportunities as well. So just to finalize, we are so excited to have our upcoming launch, which is on March 15th. We'll be doing a webinar introducing TASP and how you can apply and how you can get involved. That webinar is open to anyone, not just local governments. So if you know of anyone who might be interested, encourage them to participate in that webinar and learn more. While the TASP technical assistance is only for governments and school districts, I think it's useful to have other community members, whether you're a service provider or someone else who is interested in moving your community along and getting this technical assistance, to be knowledgeable on how this works and encourage and nudge your local government to apply and get involved. So there is a registration link there, and I'll be sure to share my slides with Allie and send them out to you all so you have those links for the registration for the webinar. Again, it's completely free and it's an introductory webinar on how TASP works. On March 16th, we'll start scheduling office hours, and all of that, whether you're just interested in receiving information, want to know more about upcoming workshops, how to get office hours, you can do all that through the website, which is continually being developed and added to. So you see the link there. Also, we have an email if you just want to inquire directly to us, and a phone number. So there's multiple ways to contact us, and we're just excited to get this program up and running and helping communities move forward on their zero waste ladder. So I will stop there and be happy to take any questions.
Hey, Randy, Van here. I'm curious about who from the TASP team is kind of consulting on organics.
So great question. And we have, staff from EcoCycle and RRS. And what we'll do when we get an applicant that comes in with a specific question like that, then we will decide amongst our team who's best to answer that. Or we'll even subcontract with experts, special material experts that, we can defer to as well. So we'll make sure that the communities get the expertise and consulting that they need for their specific project.
Thanks.
Yeah, you bet. Good question. Any other questions?
Randy, how is this program funded for a finite amount of time, or is the hope that it will be a continual?
Yeah, we currently have a 1-year contract with CDPHE to run this, with the understanding we had originally planned a 2-year timeline, and so the understanding is that we will renew that for the 2 years. And then, everything, all the indications we're getting from CDPHE and the forward board is if everything goes really well, they want this to be a continuing ongoing program for as long as forward is in operation and has those funds.
All right, last call for questions for Randy.
Well, thank you all for letting me give you our little introduction about TASP. And again, if you do have interest, please reach out. We'll share that information out through Allie. So you have the slide deck, and feel free to participate in that first workshop to learn more. We'll go in a lot more depth than what I covered today. So thanks again.
Great. Okay, we're on to the policy update now. So I want to give an update on the Recycle Colorado bill, which we're calling the study bill for landfill diversion. I think a lot of you participated in providing feedback on the concept and language that was circulated a few weeks ago. Just in case this is a brand new idea to you, this is coming directly out of a recommendation from the statewide organics management plan that CDPHE finished last fall. And their really #1 policy recommendation from that group that completed that project was that we maybe look at a yard waste ban as low-hanging fruit organics to be diverted from the landfill. We know that there are some number of county landfills that are approaching for which yard waste is becoming an issue in terms of their capacity to accept it. I know Liz Morrow from South Canyon is looking at potentially banning it. So it does seem like that might be a timely bill to take on at this time. And the idea is that we take a regional approach, looking at the same 4 regions of the state that the Organics Management Plan did. Western Slope is definitely in a different place on this than Eastern Colorado that doesn't have any trees. So the idea basically is start with diverting yard waste, but it's a study, and it's what do we need in order to get to the point where we can allow landfills or encourage landfills to ban yard waste. And then beyond that, the bill looks at how do we move on to food waste, and how do we follow the lead of several other states now who have started requiring first, usually they start with the large generators like a big food production facility or maybe grocery store, large grocery store, within a certain distance from a permitted composter is required to divert that material. A lot of the times there is for several states there's a food recovery aspect to it, edible food recovery aspect to it. So that is the Recycle Colorado bill. We had a awesome lobby day a couple weeks ago down at the Capitol. I'm an introvert. I had a blast. It was really great talking about this bill, and especially seeing people that I didn't know talking about this bill and advocating for it. So that bill is now in the hands of a bill drafter who has until the 27th to complete a draft, and then it will be introduced to is it the Senate first, Randy?
Yes, Dan, it's starting in the Senate with Senator Cutter as the main sponsor, the prime sponsor. We are meeting with the drafter in just a few minutes to check in and answer some questions, hoping to get a draft in the next 24 hours, fingers crossed. And then we will be sending it out to Recycle Colorado members to get feedback and input on and get board approval. So that's all got to happen very, very quickly so that we can get the bill introduced hopefully next week is what I think is the timeline.
Right, cool, so thank you. So that bill is on a path, and of course, Recycle Colorado will be asking for our support in lobbying for that bill and testifying and calling our representatives and all that good stuff. Any questions, thoughts, other comments about that bill? Okay. Then there is a second bill, and I'll reiterate, if you haven't heard me say it before, this is not a Recycle Colorado bill. This bill right now is being developed by EcoCycle, COPERG, Colorado Public Interest Research Group, and CC4CA also plans to support it. That is Colorado Communities for Climate Action. So this bill is, we're calling the Truth in Compostables Labeling Bill. If you look in the meeting agenda minutes doc, there is a link to bill language, which we just completed yesterday. And so now it's time to do the same thing that we asked folks to do with the Recycle Colorado bill, which is to like to get COCC member comments on this bill. The language is it's longer than some of the bills that we've been working with recently. And that is because it is, we are trying as much as possible to synchronize this bill with states that are already working on it. So the idea of this bill, and I'll back up, is to require that if this bill were to pass, that there would be a requirement that if you use the word compostable on a packaging or product in the state of Colorado, it must be certified compostable to the ASTM D6400 and D6868 standards. If you use a term that is causing confusion, such as biodegradable or oxidegradable, or just degradable, then the bill would ban that term, ban use of that term, and it would be, this is enforceable through the Attorney General. It's basically consumer reporting enforcement. So if you're in the grocery store and you see, oxidogradable on a product, after this bill, should this bill become law, then you can, contact your Attorney General, contact the Attorney General's office, and they will follow up on that. So, so that's the concept of the bill. And the bill language, as I was starting to say, is it's pretty much lifted from state of Washington's language. So if you remember, last year, state of Washington passed this very comprehensive organics bill. This is just one piece of it. And that is looking like pretty much the standard for what this bill should look like, so that we're not creating a patchwork. Each state has a different bill, has a different law. That doesn't work well for manufacturers. So we're using the best language that's at hand, which is Washington. The state of Minnesota is also, I think last year they introduced this bill, and they're reintroducing it again this year. It is similar in up to the point of what it requires of labeling on language. What it's stopping short on is the visual clues so there's the word compostable, and then there's also the state of Washington. What they did with their bill is they said, if you can only use a green stripe if you're compostable, and you should use a green stripe on certain products. And so it's requirements about striping, requirements about colors, tinting, trying to use the visual cues in addition to the terminology to cue people that what is the that it is a compostable product. Any questions so far? Okay. So as you all know, here in A1 country, we're moving to food and yard waste only in our compost guidelines. So the question has been posed, how useful is this bill? Prior to the most recent developments with contamination on the Front Range, my approach has been, well, I see this as a necessary step to reducing confusion, consumer confusion. But the question has been raised, is this something that's really useful, or should we just be moving away from single-use products altogether and focusing on food and yard waste only and renewables? So I guess that's the question. I'd like to get a little bit of feedback today. There is a survey that is also in the agenda document. That survey is very important. Questions being asked there, basically trying to create a fact sheet for this bill that is, that talks about what is, as a composter or as a collector, as a hauler or a manager or collection program for a municipality, what, can we quantify the impact of contamination from a confused consumer public? Can we try to put some numbers to, what is the cost of contamination in, unsellable product, in, labor to sort through materials. So please, if you're a member of COCC, please click on that survey or look up the Rachel Setsky, my colleague from EcoCycle, sent that a few days ago. I think it was last Friday. Click on that or find her email as well. So appreciate your responses to that survey. But my question right now for you is, I'd like to just spend a few minutes talking about how much of a priority is this for the full state, and do we as a council have or is there a quick consensus on renewables versus single-use items? So I'm just going to throw it out there. Does anyone have any comments on that?
Dan, I would love to talk, and I'm going to talk in about 2 minutes just so I can pull off the side of the road and speak to this. So if anybody wants to go before me, I'll come back in about 2 minutes.
Okay.
I have thoughts too, but I think others should go first. Looks like Bob and Alex have their hand.
Bob, go ahead.
Okay. All of you are aware of the massive number of meetings and everything we've been putting forth from A1's perspective on this. I just want to reiterate that our goal was to eliminate non-compostable contamination from the stream. And that has many aspects. I think Clinton can probably add to it. So that's still our goal. I do not believe that in the long run, we're going to quote unquote eliminate like compostable products. I think there's going to be a space for them. I think that they're going to need to be, this is Bob Yo speaking, and I'm probably pulling a little bit on a few years of experience in this field. And I will tell you that reality will be that these products will have benefit and they need to be managed. And I've contended for quite some time now, 4 years to be exact, that if we don't have a paradigm shift in how we manage these materials, they will continue to be problematic in bringing additional contamination into a compost stream, etc. So what I'm going to, as I quote unquote retire for the most part, I find it very hard to be silent. I don't know, many of you know me that way, and so I'm not going to back away from that. I'm going to tell you that I feel that the processes that we continue to work toward will provide the ability to compost compostable products separately from the mass volume of organic material going to a composting facility. I believe that we have to work toward ways to get the separation done so that they aren't coming in, not only the compostable products, but also the ride-alongs and all this confusing items and contamination that we've experienced over 2 decades now can be managed separately. And that's a sortation process, Dan, you're right. So in the purest sense of it, yes, we want clean food waste and clean green waste in the major composting processes within our facilities. I will let the other composters express their opinion. But that's where we're going with this. We want to eliminate non-compostable contamination. We want to create clean compost, which is the ultimate goal. That's what we do. We make compost. We want it to be clean compost so that it can be marketed and beneficial the way it's intended to be. I think I'll stop there just to let you know. I don't want to throw Megan's probably, well, I see Megan on there. She's probably wondering, what is he talking about? I think she knows what I'm talking about. We definitely need to work toward that end. So I'm going to leave it at that. And then I'll let Clinton jump in because I know he'll probably have more to add. Thank you.
Well,
Thanks,
Dan, to go
Bob.
back.
Let me go to Alex
Can I
first.
wait?
All right, well, thanks, Bob. And I always appreciate the dialogue and consideration of the future of compostable products. Obviously, everyone knows that BPI probably has a particular feeling about this, given our business model. I do think when it comes to compostable products, we tend to look at not all products the same way. So, for example, we know that compost food collection bags greatly increase participation in programs. So if you're trying to get A1 or anyone else more of the good stuff, the food waste, if you will, that might have a different effect, than other products or less likely to be screened out. Obviously, those can also harbor contaminants. Totally understand that. I just wanted to throw one other consideration into this mix as we consider the future of our compostable products, which is, especially in Colorado, because of the recent EPR program. Obviously, the reason that EPR programs in Colorado and elsewhere can help the compost industry is because there are fees collected from compostable products. So if there are no compostable products anymore in Colorado, there's no more money to direct towards compost activity in Colorado, and no more ability for the compost industry to represent on the advisory board. Like, as soon as you take yourself out of the compostable packaging landscape, the whole EPR thing dissolves, because it's really about financing the management of packaging and products. So, for whatever that's worth, that's one reason why BPI has spent so much time working across the country, worked on the Colorado language to ensure that compost representation was in there, to ensure that money for compost was in there, because I think that's our best way to put our money where our mouth is, truly, like money going from the compostable product industry to help infrastructure, to help education. Not saying it has to be that way, but that's just kind of our outlook on the world. So that's also, I think, rolled up into the, just the consideration.
Thanks, Alex. Clinton?
The part I was going to add to this, Dan, is your original question is like, is it important to be able to easily identify compostables? And that is yes. That is part of this step forward to provide the confidence to a commercial compost manufacturer that they're going to get the materials that truly work and not all the other contamination. So I was just going to add that part to it. And I think Bob summed it up really well. And Alex, I also really appreciate what you're saying. I mean, I do think EPR is another step in this multi-level process to get this system to work correctly. And that's where A1 is moving in that direction. That's where we want to move to. But at this moment, our contamination level is really high. We got to get there. So like right now, we want clean compost and good food waste and green waste until we can figure out these other pieces. So that's all I'm going to say there.
Monique?
Yeah, so Table to Farm Compost has an interesting, I think, story and approach as it relates to this. So we have not traditionally accepted compostable products. We did for a very short time accept the compostable bags for Alex's reasoning, which is that it did encourage some participation and people were more comfortable that their buckets were cleaner. Ultimately, while those bags do break down really well, for our scale at the time, there were far too many of them. We literally had bears picking them up and bringing them into their dens, and they were in the trees and stuff. So we stopped, but we stopped taking any compostable packaging. And then we said, how do we re-enter and we have contamination-free compost, right? But we're also like realistic. How do we re-enter this space? Because it's an important space in a way that we can manage this, right? And do it in a way that we feel comfortable. And because we're in a unique situation where we're the hauler and the compost producer, we think we can do that. So I'm definitely agreeing with, the folks that have said, like, we're not going to get rid of, these single-use compostable products. What I'd love to see is the truth in labeling. So I feel pretty strongly that it's important. And by the way, I have a New York Times subscription. I can gift like so many articles. So that's the reason why there's a really long link in there, because it's a really interesting article like about this total topic. And it's funny. Now, what they don't have on there is like compostable, but they have like sustainable and all these different words, that we're all struggling with. Like, man, corporations are using these words. Okay, so it's very timely, like Dan said. So what we did do is we worked with the Compost Research Education Foundation and folks like Megan to do a compostable packaging study. And so I just want people to know, number one, that exists. And the Compost Research Education Foundation has this entire methodology. So if you're thinking about moving into this space, you can do it in a way that, hey, here are the kinds of products that I want to use. Here are the companies that I feel comfortable working with, because I know I can trust them. And I understand, when I'm done with this process, I'll know whether or not these break down at my facility or not. So then, and actually we have a coffee company that's really interested in working with us too, so that we can actually market what is compostable. So I feel like this piece at the state level is really important, because on the other side of it, the consumers also need to be aware of what's compostable. And I can tell you that when I was putting this study together, right, we all think we're like experts in recycling. It was so confusing. I had the person that I was working with, there were recyclable products that were in my like big box to potentially compost. And then when I was looking through all the compostable products, I'm like, this is insane. I got so mad, right? And I've been an environmentalist my whole life. So I think we cannot just walk away from this issue. So I feel very strongly. And I'm glad that we have this approach. And I mean, it's a little bit opening Pandora's box, but I feel like we can't put our head in the sand. So I'm really appreciative to Dan and others that have just said, okay, let's try to, get this going in some way. So I'm very supportive. I'm done.
Liz?
Awesome. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yes. Okay, sweet. Awesome. Thank you, Monique. So basically just on a similar vein, wanted to pretty much agree with Monique that we can, and I think we have to do both. I mean, so we're a compost facility as well that we take food waste, and as part of that, we do take certified compostable products. And we're not going to go backwards on that, because it's just too confusing to people. And where we're at is we're just trying to get more people to join in, and we don't want to go back on something and then get people who bought in to give up. So yeah, we do have some contamination now. Granted, we're in quite a different position than A1, where we also operate a landfill and we're also much smaller volume. So it's much more manageable for us. We do get lots of stuff that's biodegradable or just green, simply like the color green, and people think it's compostable. And it all gets screened out at the end, and we have to throw it away in our landfill, which does cost us money because we're selling space and we're using up that space. So we don't love it. So I do support this bill. I think we need to do it. I also think we're going to have to keep accepting these single-use compostable materials. But at the same time that I'm doing that, I'm also constantly trying to convert people to getting away from single use whenever they can. So basically just doing both, but still trying to compost. So thank you. That's all I had.
Thanks, Liz. Megan.
Hey, yeah, just to echo everything Liz, Monique, everyone's been saying. Yeah, I think reusables, ideal. Number one, if you're really trying to do the sustainability thing, like if we can come up with ways to help businesses use reusables, like, I mean, even eco products supports that, because we know that's the true element of sustainability and ideal. I mean, they are still products that are using resources, and then if they get thrown away or they break, that's also a problem, but that's a whole nother topic. But I think we're so far from that, and we consume so much stuff in this state alone, that single use is still here for a while. And I think the terms biodegradable, oxo-degradable, like the confusion is bad for everyone. It's bad for composters. It's really like uncomfortable as a consumer when you're just like wondering, like, I want to do the right thing, but what the heck is this? Like Monique says, I mean, she's like an expert in a lot of things, and it was so confusing for her. It's confusing for me. And so I think this supporting this bill is really important. And, you know, regardless of what A1's doing, like they're not the only composter in Colorado, and they're not the only composter that takes compostables or is going to take compostable packaging in the future. So, I mean, you know, keep in mind, like legislation takes years to go through, get passed, get implemented, you know, push back, all the things. So I think this is only going to help all of our composters. And, you know, A1's been pretty clear that their goal is to no longer take certified compostables. They're just going to reformulate the way that they accept them. So that's where they're going to need clearing up the confusion of compostables to hopefully reduce the tag-alongs, the lookalikes, and then that will at least help decontamination on the packaging side. They still might get some boots and some, you know, garden hoses, but hopefully more education can help reduce all the other stuff that they get. So I think I think we should support this still.
Thanks, Megan. I'll just make a note here that if you want to, the survey has a few fill in the blank spots for answers. So if you want to weigh in on the survey, you can do that as well. Were there anyone else with their hand raised? I don't think there's anyone else want to chime in on this.
Looks like Julie put a note in the chat. We might take a look at that. Dan, are you gonna talk to folks? Are we gonna introduce the idea of what it looks like for the Colorado Composting Council to support something, or would that be later? Because it's a process. I'm not sure. Have we done that before? Or am I jumping ahead? If I'm jumping ahead, you can cut me off and we cannot talk about it.
Well, I think let's talk about the process.
Okay.
If we're ready. Anyone else have a comment on, do we support, don't we support? We won't, so, okay, so here's what I'm thinking about process is I do want to give people a little time to be thoughtful about this. We're obviously in the legislative session now. This will be a late bill. And Randy tells me that there is no deadline for when an late bill is introduced. You know, within, has to happen during the legislative session. But I think I would really appreciate getting feedback on the bill language, and it is long. I apologize in advance. I'll tell you just for organizational purposes, so that you can, as you look through it, there's a section about compostable products, meaning you know, containers, food product containers. There's a section for that, and then there's a section that is nearly duplicative of that, specifically for bags. And again, that's because that's how Washington set it up. So we just cut and paste. And I'll also give a heads up that the term plastic is used to describe these products, meaning the compostable products are described as compostable plastics. And I went and checked the ASTM definition, And sure enough, that is the term they use, is compostable plastic. So while I think it's unfortunate that we have to call them that, that is how ASTM defines them. So they are referred to as compostable plastics. And there you go, there's more confusion. So number one, please provide, this is the feedback period. So, and I'm not sure how long we'll let it go, but provide feedback on the survey, especially if you're a composter, or you, like you say, if you have costs that are related to contamination or dealing with contamination, please contribute to that survey so that we can get good numbers on a fact sheet. It's really important. Survey, go through the concept and bill language document when you get a chance. I think it's shared as suggesting only. I don't think you can change the text. You can only change the you can only put a comment in on the side. So let's not change the text. Even if the setting is not right, please don't change the text. And then I think the next step is, well, I'll one more bit of information. Senator Lisa Cutter is who's the same sponsor for the Recycle Colorado bill. She is interested in sponsoring this bill as well. So she is our point person in the legislature at the moment. I think we've been talking to a few others, but it's her baby right now. Timing will be, up to her. So I can't tell you how long we have to, noodle through the language here. But please make that a priority to do, let's say in the next, if you can do it in the next week, that would be awesome. I can't make promises beyond that on where we need to be with Senator Cutter. I think so. An additional question is, does COCC as an entity want to support this bill, which would require a vote? And we do, I believe, have a protocol for email voting, right, Monique?
Yes, we do.
So I guess it sounds like there's support.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's probably worth putting that vote together. I would say let's wait a bit. Let's allow people. Like I say, I think right now, if you could do the survey, comment on the language, and then let's give that a week, and then maybe what's today? Tuesday. Maybe the end of next week. We'll check in with Senator Cutter, but we can reach out again about an email vote. Does that sound like a good path forward? Does anyone want to suggest anything else?
Well, Megan has a comment about, could we call it bioplastics? I have to say, like, the plastics word is, oh my gosh, really painful. There's a way I like that. Like, let's just throw bio in front of it, something. I don't know. You've done the research, Dan, so I don't know if that would just create more chaos, but I think it's worth considering. Anyway, that's not around process. Process, I think, yeah, let's have people have time to take the survey, talk to Senator Cutter. I do want to remind folks kind of how I started the call. So in order to vote, tell me if I'm wrong here, Dan. I don't have the document open. Naomi can tell me if I'm wrong. But I think in order to vote on this, you do have to be a member of Colorado Composting Council, the U.S. Composting Council, and Recycle Colorado. Is that correct?
Yes.
like I said before, I know that's a heavy lift, but we're trying to build an understanding of the importance that each of these organizations play. You can comment all day. You're welcome to come to these meetings. Everybody's welcome, right? But it's on the voting piece for anything budgetary or like a policy like that, right? So.
Okay, so it sounds like there's that is a acceptable path forward, that in something like a week and a half, we will send out an email with an opportunity to vote. And so since I know I looked at our list, a membership list, and as Monique made a plug at the beginning of the meeting, I presume that means you have to be member in good standing at the moment. So so check with Ally if you're not sure of your membership status.
Yeah, and we'll probably send out a newsletter. Oh, that's a good point. We'll probably send out a newsletter about this. And so if you don't think that you're on our newsletter, we sent one out like a month ago. Please go ahead and email me and I can get you on there, because a lot of important stuff goes out that way. Also through Ally, but the newsletter that I send out will have this on it. So.
Okay, well, if there aren't other comments on this topic, is Julie with us?
Hey everybody, how's it going?
Great.
Hey Julie.
Sorry I was late, and sorry if I missed introductions. I'm Julie Mock. I own Elements Compost down in Salida, and I was trying to take advantage of the good weather before the snow comes in. So I can do financials real quick here. I know we're getting over time.
We're good till 4.
Oh, okay, great. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. And I am just dropping a link in the chat. If you guys want access to look at the COCC financials just on your own time, I'm going to try to keep them really updated every month in this Google Drive folder. So I just dropped that link in the chat, so feel free to peruse, but I'll just walk through these items real quick. Just to close out 2022, I wanted to show you all sort of where we ended up at the end of the year. So you're looking at basically our profit and loss from last fiscal year 2022. So you can see our revenue that we brought in primarily from sponsorships and membership income. And we receive our direct COCC membership as well as a portion of USCC memberships for folks that are a part of our state council. So you can see that reflected there on the revenue side, and then you can see our various expenditures. I will note that the payroll expenses, that's Ally and Liz's time, are tracked, but they're not actually deducted from the COCC financials. So just a note there, that's mainly for kind of tracking purposes. We are paying a contractor, however, to help with some of our social media and marketing and newsletter stuff. So that is a direct fee that we're paying, that $330 last year. So any questions on that, for sure, let me know. But again, just kind of a recap, we brought in about $12,000 and spent less than half of that. So we added a good chunk to our reserves, which I'll jump to next. And there's not much on here because obviously we haven't had many transactions in 2023, but this is our restricted fund balance. So this is essentially what COCC has in reserves in the bank. And this sits in an account under Recycle Colorado's bank account and books. They're our fiscal sponsor, but you can see our fund balance currently. And then real quick, our 2023 profit and loss so far. Again, not a ton happening yet this year, but we have had some membership dollars come through. So thank you to everybody who has renewed their COCC membership. If you haven't, it's a great time and we can get those on the books. And then again, we're tracking those payroll expenses for staff, although those aren't coming out of our actual account. One thing I will note as another expense that's not reflected, these are just the January numbers, is we did commit $1,000 to Recycle Colorado's lobby day because there was a lot of effort focused on the organic study bill. So we made that contribution. It'll show up on the February books. Yeah, so I think that's all quick and dirty on the financials. Any questions?
Thank you, Julie. It's so helpful to have clear articulation of the financials and to have it all available in the drive. So there's total transparency and people can take a look at them. Well done. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Julie. Okay. Couple more things on the agenda. So there's a question of should we have some, do we need committees right now? They can be, ad hoc, short-term as needed, or ongoing. I don't think we have any standing committees at the moment. We obviously have folks who are participating in standing Recycle Colorado committees, such as Policy, Rural Colorado, perhaps others. So as Monique and I were putting together the work plan for 2023, which is linked in this document, the question came up, but what about, are we going to need some committees? So one possible project that we might want to take on in the next few months, if you've been around for a year, you know that the first full week in May is International Compost Awareness Week. It is a week that USCC really tries to highlight and tries and asks state chapters to highlight as well. In years past, what we have done is we have simply use social media to promote any events that we might be doing on our own, with our own organizations, for promotion of compost, for promotion of our own compost operation or whatever it may be, general awareness about compost. So that's one option, that we just aggregate our information and utilize social media to try to get it out further. There are some state chapters who do an organized Compost Awareness Week for their state, where they are having a compost giveaway or some kind of event. So that's one potential project that might be in need of a committee. There's one other thing I'll mention from the USCC conference that was in January. Monique and I attended the chapters track, where we met with all the other state chapters and did some planning together and some training together. And one thing that was really pushed during that chapters track was, or two things I will say. One was succession planning. It's encouraged that state chapters have a succession plan or have a structure by which there is succession in the leadership. There is one model that was put forth is to have a chair and a vice chair, and the structure would be that that the chair position is a one-year position, and then the vice chair becomes the chair the following year, and you vote for a new vice chair. The way we do it is Monique and I are co-chairs. This is our second year. And then we have this sort of informal leadership team that we meet with monthly that all are welcome to, by the way. And I guess there's not a, let me or Monique know if you want to join that leader, or Allie, she can send you an invite. If you want to join the leadership team meetings, which are first Mondays at 1 o'clock, I think. So I think that structure sort of allows for, you know, the next chair. Well, first of all, it allows for way more capability, I think, than, my opinion is, we have a lot of capability with this structure in that, you know, someone will pop up and, okay, I'll take responsibility for X. And that may, you know, if you have a more formal structure, maybe have fewer people. There's pretty good participation in that meeting. I think there's at least 12 people, 13 who show up to just about all of them. So that's actually very helpful to make sure projects are supported. And I think at the same time, it allows for, you know, the next leadership position to kind of naturally come forth, perhaps. So that's what we have now. We can change that, and I'm not suggesting that we go through that right now. That is just something that they brought to our attention. Please have a succession plan. The other thing is to actively incorporate diversity, equity, and inclusion into everything that we do. And there was some information shared about how that might be done. You know, I think one I liked was that at least one person in every meeting, you know, have that responsibility of, you know, listening to everything through a DEI lens, and you know, and providing feedback on, wait a second, let's take another track on whatever. So just to report back, so those are some things that, you know, I don't know if we need a committee for chapter succession. We might want a committee to talk about DEI. And there may be other reasons for a committee. Then there's, in addition to committees, there's also project leads and liaisons. So Sandy, I don't think Sandy was available today, if I remember, but Sandy Briggs from City of Boulder is on the USCC Legislative and Environmental Affairs Committee. Bob was on that for years. That's important. You know, so that is maybe the most important USCC committee to be a liaison to, but there are other USCC committees out there. So just throw it out there. At this time, looks like people are signing up for the Compost Awareness Week. Is that what's going on here?
We had to kind of form this little subcommittee
Yeah.
at the end of last year. I think Clinton, did you want to chime in here?
Yeah, I was just waiting. Yeah, I just put it in the chat on Monday at 10 a.m. CREF, the Compost Research Education Foundation, is holding I think it's about a 45 to 1 hour meeting that basically provides ideas, inspiration, things that have happened in the past across the country in various states by different state chapters on what they do for iCall. And so, yeah, Megan and I and a few other people on this call are going to be attending that, and then we can bring back ideas, but all is welcome to be a part of it. So I'm really excited to have a small group going after this. It's going to be great.
Awesome. That is excellent news.
And then Dan, I'd be willing to pull together a little subgroup that can feed information to Clinton and Sean as part of like the composting track for the summit, just to make sure we have a little burst of energy and ideas, in the next couple of weeks while they're doing a call for speakers. So I can pull something like that together that may even just be an email chain, or we'll talk once or something like that, just to make sure we're a little more engaged on that track.
Great.
I would say on the can I just put it out there, because none of us want more committees on the DEI piece. I love that idea of all the things that we listen to all day at US Compost Council. I love the one takeaway I had that I'd never thought about was this idea of at the beginning of every meeting saying who can be the representative to think about someone who's not here right now. I think that's really cool. And that's an easy thing that we can do at every meeting. So maybe what I'll do is add that to the agenda, Dan, like at the very top, right? And we can just have somebody volunteer to do that. Like that's incredibly impactful.
Yeah, I like that as well. That is what stuck with me. I would like to go back through other suggestions because I do want to give it full consideration. But I think that's a wonderful start. Okay, let's see. I think Van had to jump off. Is that right?
No, I'm on the FF1 flyer heading to Denver now. So on the bus, if y'all can hear me, and we could talk about the ideas that we've been floating about a group RREO project. Is that the?
Yeah. Yep.
Cool. Well, howdy, folks. I've been working with Monique and Dan on some ideas that I think would be really cool proposals to present to the RREO grant program on behalf of our interests as composters and compost enthusiasts. Specifically, the idea, the zoning and planning offices for different municipalities across the state on community composting practices so that small scale composting operations can occur in cities. Most planning and zoning offices are not super familiar with compost operations, and these Colorado Council, and we've thought about maybe reaching out to their industry group and trying to develop an educational platform similar to the tasks that Randy's working on, but for the whole state, and sort of focusing more on the planning and zoning offices so that they can all be a little bit more educated and keyed in on compost and organics processing. It's a massive hurdle, for compost operations and facilities to be established across the region and state. And one of those major barriers, again, is just a lack of understanding at the when it comes to actually zoning
and permitting these at the city level. The state, you know, with Jace Driver and our colleagues there, you know, they're much more amenable and easy to work with, and are poised to expand that CESQ limit. So that more community style and small scale compost operations can occur. But getting over the municipal level barrier is a tough hurdle. And I think bringing these people in and inviting them to the Recycle Colorado Summit and perhaps exploring a partnership for an RREO grant, I think would be a great way of sort of bringing them to the table. So sorry again if you can't hear me very well.
Yeah, you were mostly there. You broke up a smudge, but I think we got it. What do you think is a next step? So would that be something that we might want to task a committee with if there's folks interested?
Hey, Dan, a quick clarifying question.
Go ahead.
Would we not have to have a committee member or a hired representative on the COCC to manage the REO grant if it was funded through the COCC or to the COCC?
That's a great idea. Love that.
We would, yes. You know, I think it could be an intern. Obviously, we'd have to have. You're right. There has to be a name on the grant. Who else is behind that name is a. I think that's where we can make. If we have committed folks who are committed to getting it, seeing it through, then I think it's viable. But you're right.
Monique, what was the name of that industry group that you'd brought up for the planning purposes?
Yep, it's the Colorado Association of Counties or committee. Ooh, oh my gosh, what's it called? I used to know this, but anyway, it's an association of all the counties, just like there is an association of all the cities, Colorado. And can I just, because I know at one point we were all talking about REO grant for contamination. Van, do you feel that the policy zone piece that you're talking about would be separate, or could they be rolled into one, or is it just a separate idea? There's no right or wrong answer. I'm just curious.
I think, would you mind, what are you specifically referring to as far as the contamination piece? Just like educating them on ways to prevent contamination, such as.
No, we had pulled together Clinton, Megan, and I, and it just, it's a lot of work to put together a grant proposal, and we put together a couple of really interesting conversations about kind of a contamination education and outreach campaign we could pitch to RREO, and there were some good ideas that came through. In the end, it didn't come together, and we just didn't have enough time. So this is I think this is like another idea, very good one, around how to engage. And by the way, it's CCI, Colorado Counties Incorporated. It's every county in the state of Colorado. They do run policy and legislation through CCI. It would be a huge thing to connect with them. I love that idea. So I kind of feel like that could be a separate, proposal, man. So yeah, they're just distinct. But I mean, I think what I'm hearing is like there are these projects and ideas that are all really worthy, like the one that Van just talked about. I mean, I had such a headache with my county, but maybe even less so than others may be having in terms of permitting. So what Van is talking about could really be impactful for the whole state, and potentially getting RREO funds. Is just for anybody that's written those grants, it is so much work. So Dan and I were actually, when we were in California, there were some compost councils that had staff, and it's like, I mean, we have Allie and Liz, but we can't be like, hey, Liz, write this grant for us, I mean, that's just it's a whole nother level of engagement. we could, I don't know if that would be appropriate. All right, so my God, to write a grant's a big thing. So anyway, I love all these ideas. I kind of do wonder if, a subcommittee would need to flesh them out, and then we'd have to decide, like, those are two really worthy issues, right? I still love the whole contamination education piece through REO, and I also really love this idea of working with CCI. So both good ideas.
Yeah, I think having a subcommittee would be great. I would be happy to be part of that subcommittee. And yeah, and Megan, because you brought up that, you wrote that email, you started that, organization of that, contamination piece. I think it'd be great if you helped out. And maybe we can pull together a concept that includes one or both, ideas. But I think in general, yeah, the general idea of educating the other, municipal and regional leaders on contamination and best practices is a really great thing for our organization to be focusing on. So, yeah.
Yeah, and REO can and will pay to hire a dedicated staff person. I mean, that would be amazing, right? And if that person worked on education, it's a big task, but they could work on both those issues. I mean, if we got a 2 to 3 year grant, well, I don't know what the time, REO is typically one, but anyway. Okay, well, we had some momentum. Let's try to pull those two conversations together. Who wants to be, I'm looking at Megan, but that's probably so unfair. Who wants to just maybe get that going again? Like just pull us all together. Van's gonna do it. Yes. And we don't know when the next REO grant is, but that's probably a good thing because it's gonna take us a long time to figure this out. Let's just get ready for when the next one posts. Okay, great.
Monique, I will stay in that group. I will stay in that group, but I'm not going to lead.
All right, Van, you got me, Megan, Clinton. Anybody else wants to be on the bus with Van?
I'm so happy, Van. You're stepping up to take this one. Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, really nice.
Yeah, and I really like the idea of outreach directly to local government planners, zoning departments. And I think in addition to CCI, I think that group I mentioned before, CC4CA, Colorado Communities for Climate Action, those are municipalities that are already, they may be a little frustrated with CCI, and they really want to do climate work. So I think that's a receptive group to, now whether their land use department is on the same page is a whole nother question, but I think that's a good group as well. Okay, we are at 4 o'clock, and I see someone posted Sandy's update from the legislative.
I got your back, Dan, just to make it easy so you don't have to go through it.
So we are through the agenda.
Oh my God, that's exactly 4 o'clock. Nice job.
That's how we do it. Rucker, I like your comments. Let's pick up more on that. But I don't want to hold people. So appreciate y'all for showing up, and thank you, Monique and Jessica, and all of you. Appreciate you for. All right. Until next time.
Okay, thanks everybody. Bye.
Thanks everyone. Bye.
Hey, everybody.